Hello everyone, welcome back to Pixel Village and I'm Radha Krishnan. I'm so happy to be back again on the seat in front of this camera and this light, talking to you after being indoors for almost 2 months. When I say indoors, literally indoors. I have not even stepped out of the main door of my apartment. Well, these are testing times, so you need to do what you are supposed to do. But the photography world was not keeping quiet. There were a few very exciting product launches. There were lots of interesting accessories that got launched. And the whole world was playing with it, talking about it, and my hands were itching because for obvious reasons. Well, we are open now. I have one product from that list of exciting products here in the studio. But you have already seen it. You already know about the specs and what it can do, can't do and all that. But we have to definitely talk to you about it. So without any ta-da moment, let me show you or present to you the FujiFilm GFX 100S. According to me, one of the best cameras that got launched in the recent times. Now, this one is not only interesting, this is also a very important product. Now, when you talk about Fuji, whenever they launch a product, their target market is very clearly defined. They have a product for that extremely demanding professional to an entry-level photographer. Now, something that I have seen, that's why it is important, something that I have seen is whenever they launch a product, the quality is never compromised. Whenever they launch a product during, let's say, a period, whichever is their, top of the line sensor and processor, it'll be available right from their entry level to the top of the line camera. All gives you same kind of imaging quality. Of course, build materials may differ. They may take or add a few features depending on the target audience. Well, that's all, but the image quality is never compromised. That's exactly what they have done in this camera too. As you know, about a year and a half back, they launched their GFX 100, the 102 megapixel camera, which costs about $9,999 with a lot of fanfare. I had the opportunity to be there while it was being launched. Now, from there to this camera with almost exactly the same feature, or probably even more features than that, to this camera, when they brought it down to, let's say, a $5,099 camera, well, they did not compromise on anything. In fact, it became much more user-friendly. The sizes have come down. This is now almost the size of, let's say, a full-frame camera. But instead of getting into this rat race of adding more pixels to, let's say, a so-called full-frame camera, they've gone ahead and built a different size of sensor altogether, which was evident in the GFX 100. Of course, that started from their GFX 50 series. The GFX 50S and the GFX 50R are the examples. They had a much larger sensor in comparison to the so-called full-frame camera. And that was the definite advantage over the full-frame camera, which had probably more resolution than, let's say, a 50 megapixel camera. But the game completely changed when they launched their 102 megapixel camera in GFX 100. But this one, the GFX 100S, according to me, has made that quality available to a much wider audience. The biggest reason is the price point. Well, this camera, now it's a known fact that it is cheaper than some of the full-frame cameras. Now, for academic purposes, let's look at the features, only because, we are doing a kind of a review, so hence we need to talk about it. The first one is the resolution, of course, you know it. It is 102 megapixels. It gives you uncompressed RAW at 14 bits at 5 frames a second. This camera has a large sensor. Large means this is about 1.7 times bigger than a full-frame camera sensor, and Fuji calls it a large format. Moreover, this camera comes with an in-body image stabilization, which actually gives you a 6-stop advantage. It has 2 SD card slots and it's got a battery to kind of match up to that. So this battery will give you 460 frames. It also shoots a 4K video. Remember, now you are not talking about the full frame, you are talking about a large frame. Now, full frame and large frame are names given in the digital world. So you have a micro four third, you have an APS-C, you have a full frame, and you now have a large frame. So that's how the digital format nomenclature is now moving upwards. Now, of course, there is something called a medium format, which is a little larger than this, is available, but it comes with lots of limitations. Since it's beyond the scope of this session, we are not going into that in detail. All right, what else this has? It's got a fantastic range of lenses available. It's got an excellent viewfinder. It's got a very large rear screen which can be viewed in 3 different angles. One is this way, second is like a waist level finder, and third one is like in case if you are inclined to shoot a lot of vertical stuff. Okay. Now, me being an old-fashioned photographer, I prefer to shoot through the viewfinder. I told you the rear screen is nice and big. It's got 2.6 million dot resolution and it's a touch screen, of course. And similarly, it's got an EVF to match that, which refreshes at about 85 frames per second, which is like fantastic. I'm sure you will like the build quality and the ergonomics. It is almost as big as a DSLR camera. It is way smaller than the GFX 100, you know, the original GFX 100. All those features are available in this, but now it's available in a much smaller, size. Well, this has that typical Fuji's no-nonsense approach to design. Simple readout dials, buttons and dials for your functions. Very solidly built lens. It's got all those required connectivity available. So I think this camera is, I think it's going to be appealing to much larger audience. Definitely that professional who requires or who is really worried about the image quality. You're going to get it without any doubt. The reason why I'm saying is I've already done a small shoot and I've also shot some videos, so I know that it delivers. Let's take a look at some videos and some stills. So, as you can see, we are ready for a shoot. We're going to shoot some stills and some videos too. I have 3 lenses, 2 primes and 1 zoom lens. The zoom is a 32 to 64. The primes are a 63 and a 120. So like I told you during the introduction segment, the sensor is much larger than the full frame. So this is about 1.7 times bigger than the full frame, and these lenses of course then will work out to be much wider. All right, so the crop factor here is 0.79. So a 63 mm will work out to be a 50 mm equivalent in full frame. The 32-64 will work out to be 25 to around 50, and the 120 will be about 90, somewhere around 90, 95, somewhere around that. So that's the 0.79 crop factor. So you must keep that in mind. So 63 is the standard lens for this camera. So what I'm going to do is to, like I said, some stills and some videos. We have Abhyang today and our regular Mansi Patwardhan too. So follow them on their Instagram handles. I'll be wonderful gesture towards them. And yeah, we're going to do some stills and some videos, and let's take a look at it. And also, let me caution you, during videos, these lenses, as you can see, are monster lenses, right? So the problem will be in tracking the focus. They can be relatively a tad slower than the full frame. So ideally, to get the best out of this camera, if you're shooting video, is to use a proper cinema lens with it. So Fuji makes wonderful cinema lenses. You will get a GFX to PL adapter, mount those lenses on, and you can shoot images as big as, let's say, probably bigger than, in fact, they are bigger than the large format, the ARRI LF, technically speaking. And if you rig it with proper, cine rigs, I think the kind of image quality this can deliver will be fantastic. However, we're going to shoot some videos with it using these lenses, both indoors and outdoors, so that you get a taste of what this camera is capable of. Let's go to the shoot. Also check out Akhil Narayan's Insta page. Akhil is a friend of Pixel Viilage and he is an amazingly talented digital artist. He's done some very good quality digital work on these images. We also shot some high-resolution images. As you know, the GFX 100S has IBIS and the camera makes use of this feature, shoots 16 frames of one image, combines it together to create a whopping 400 megapixel image. Of course, combining these 16 images to form one image is not done in the camera, but it's done using a proprietary software from Fuji called the Pixel Shift Combiner. Pretty simple process. But you must remember one thing, that it is best applied when there is absolutely no movement in your scene. Arjun Kartha is a very successful wedding and commercial photographer from Delhi. He's also a friend of Pixel Viilage. Let's see what he has to say about GFX 100S.
Hi Pixel Viilage, my name is Arjun Kartha and I'm the founder of a wedding photography company called Together Studios. Now, as a photographer for the last 17 or 18 years, I've been shooting on a range of cameras, whether it was film cameras or DSLRs or mirrorless. But one of the things that I've always felt was using a medium format camera in the field, especially in wedding photography, when size and speed and ISOs are things that we all look forward to. It was something that I never thought would be possible. But when Fuji gave me the GFX 100S to try out in the field, this is something that changed my perspective on medium format altogether. Now the GFX 100S, even though it's a 100 megapixel camera, it's incredibly fast. You can push the ISO quite happily. The files are a dream to work with, and honestly it's a medium format camera, but it behaves like a regular mirrorless camera in the field, and it's something that's completely changed my mind about mirrorless cameras, especially medium format mirrorless cameras, and it's something that's an absolute pleasure to work with. Now the proof is in the pudding, so I'd love to share some images that we've taken using the GFX 100S, and I hope you'll like them. Of course, if you have any questions or if you have any doubts whatsoever, reach out to me on Instagram or even comment on the Pixel Viilage page, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you and enjoy.
So, what do you think of the GFX 100S? I have no doubts. I personally feel that this is one of the best cameras that has ever produced. Well, and I'm also certain that the Fuji designers had that ever so demanding professional photographer right in front of them and in the center while they're designing this camera. The amount of features that they've managed to put into this form factor and at that price is amazing. I mean, it's unbelievable according to me. The images and the videos are the testimony for that. I don't think a professional photographer needs to look at anywhere else. The commercial photographer, the product photographer, landscape photographers. For a wedding photographer, this will be definitely a pride possession because the kind of images that he can create with this is amazing. If I have to speak about 2 or 3 things which I thought Fuji must pay attention to is, one is the stop dial. At this particular price point, I think the dials can be a little more attractive. I am not talking about the function, I'm talking about the way the dials feel. Second is the joystick or this toggle button. The way it feels and the way it moves through the menu can be improved according to me, because it can actually give you a little more satisfying feel. It is not to talk about the quality. I'm sure it will last as long as the camera, but the feel probably can be improved a bit. And the third one that I must definitely tell you is that because of the size of the lenses, acquiring focus can be a tad bit longer than you wished. That's all. Other than that, this is superb. I mean, amazing. Well, obviously, you're not going to take this camera for a sports event for sure, or bird photography for sure, unless the bird is in captivity. But for everything else, I don't think currently there is a camera that can match up to it. So, that's what I feel. I definitely would like to hear what you think about the GFX 100S. Even if you have used it or not used it, I'd like to know what you think about this camera. Well, if you are interested in learning photography, please head over to pixelvillage.com. We have a set of fantastic photography teachers there taking classes for you. They're all recorded sessions. You can watch the bouquet of offering, and if you like it, you can subscribe. What else? Take good care. Bye for now.